Today I'm going to share with you two of my IIM interview experiences which are closest to my heart. IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Kozhikode. Sorry if I'm still getting the pronunciation incorrect, but the important thing is why these two IIMs. IIM Ahmedabad because obviously it will always be closest to my heart, and IIM Kozhikode because it was one of the most unique experiences that I've ever had. I almost thought that I will never make it to that institute. However, I converted that in the first list, and through that I will be able to teach you as well what exactly an IIM professor is looking for in candidates and why after a disastrous interview I still made it. So for those of you who do not know me, a little bit about my background. I scored 99.91 percentile in CAT 18 and had call from all the IIMs except IIM Bangalore, and I converted all the calls that I had and joined IIM Ahmedabad. So IIM Calcutta, XRI, IIM Indo interviews will be covered in another video, so do subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's jump to my IIM A and IIM K experience. So my IIM Ahmedabad interview was scheduled in Taj Bengal, Kolkata. I was living in Pune at that point of time, but had scheduled my IIM Ahmedabad and Calcutta interviews at Kolkata itself because it happens to be my hometown and I wanted to be in that comfort zone during these two most critical interviews. So that's why I decided to take a leave, come back to Kolkata for these two interviews only. So on the day of the interview, we had to reach the hotel before 8:45. So I reached there on time. And before the interview, usually what happens is you have to complete some administrative formalities, the verification of your mark sheets and forms and different things. However, on that day, what happened was there was some delay. So they asked the first 10-15 candidates to go to the respective rooms and they will complete the formalities after the interview. So I was one of them, and they allocated us respective rooms and we had to go there and sit outside the room and the panelists would call us in. I was second in the room that I was allocated, and when my turn came, I went in. Normal gesture, may I come in, may I sit, and so on. And there were two professors. Obviously, I won't name them, but I came to know about their name once I made it to the campus. And one of the professor was notorious for creating stressful environment in the interview itself. And like, if you have really cleared the interview with that professor as a panelist, then you have done something good in life. And the first question itself was a bouncer for me. The first question was like, did you go to the washroom before the interview? And I was taken aback, but I was like, yes, I did. And the second question was, why? Are you feeling nervous? And then I was like, yes, I am feeling a bit nervous because definitely it's a very important interview for me. But going to the washroom is not related to my nervousness. I genuinely wanted to use it, but I was interrupted in between. And then the professor said, let's start. So the interview started and they asked me about my background and a little bit about my work experience, specifically asking me to explain some of the projects that I had worked on. And after that, one of the professor asked me, are you interested in politics? And I was like, yes, I like to read and stay updated with political news. But he was like, no. If I give you an offer to be an MP, will you become one? And then I was like, I haven't given it a thought, but there are a number of things that have to match my objective, the ideology that I have, the ideology of the party that I'm joining, and so on. And he was like, so you're not clear about anything? And I was like, not that I'm not clear, but I haven't given this political thing any consideration as of yet, or I haven't given it much of a thought. And I was like, why did you then reply that you're interested in politics? I was like, I thought that you are asking me about if I follow political news or not. And the professor was like, listen to the questions properly, please. And he moved to the next question. So इसके बाद मुझे तो लगा इंटरव्यू खत्म. I had just wasted the best chance that I had, and I thought ये तो clear नहीं हो रहा है. And I was so nervous that my lips were dry. I was almost not able to open it. And with gathering some courage, at least I asked for a glass of water from the interviewer. And then the same professor, he got up and he brought a jug and poured some water for me. And he said, no, don't get nervous. You still have like more than 15 minutes in the interview. So let's proceed and just drink water and let's proceed. After that, they started asking me more about work, and because there was statistics analytics involved in my work, they started asking me statistics question, and I answered most of them pretty well. However, in one of the questions that I got stuck, and the interviewer wanted to test me as well, was why is the confidence interval that you're talking about? Why did you stick to 95% and not 99% or 80%? So those of you know statistics will understand what is confidence interval. And so the question was, and we usually take a number, an average number like 95% confidence interval for any test, t-test or anything that we are doing. And then he was like, why 95%, not 80% or 99%? And I answered him like very theoretically. I started answering him about this, what's the p-value and all those things, but he was not getting convinced. He said, I want a very practical answer, not a theoretical or a bookish answer, as to why do you think that you should take 95% and not any other value. Give me a very practical example. And I still don't know how I got that example that I brought out, and I still thank God for that presence of mind in that particular moment. But I finally managed to frame an example for this, and my answer was 95%. Definitely 99% is a better confidence interval. However, 95% is like kind of a trade-off. So the example is that if you're taking an interview and suppose you ask 5 questions to a candidate, probably the candidate would have read everything the night before the interview, and probably he's not pretty smart. And however, what you can do is you can ask him 10 questions or 15 questions, and you will have more confidence that that particular candidate is actually good. However, there is a trade-off as well. You have to finish the interview within 30 minutes. So you cannot keep asking more and more questions. You have to stop at some time. So probably you can think that, okay, I'll ask him 10 questions and I will be 95% sure that this candidate is good. You can ask me 15 questions and but it will take a lot of time. And probably you can ask me 5 questions that will take less time, but you can only be say 80% sure that this candidate is good. So that's why there's a trade-off between accuracy and time. And that's why a reasonable number to assume, like in statistics, what you take is 95% and not 99 or 80. So all through the answer, the professor had asked me the question, was looking at his tablet and completely ignoring me. It looked as if it didn't matter that I was there. And after the answer, he just looked at me and said, you started off well, but it was a very pathetic example. So he turned towards the other interviewer and said, do you have any more questions for him? Because I am done. So then the next interviewer started asking a question, and it was a relief because at least this professor was now accepting the answer that I was giving. So his first question was that I'm reading a book currently. Why do you think it's written here that we tend to remember faces more than our names? And then I was like, maybe because of visual memory, faces are unique and our visual memory is strong. That's why we remember faces, but names can be, the same name can be allocated for various people. That's why you forget names of people. And he was not like rejecting any answer. He was just pushing me to say, okay, what more can you think of? What more can you think of? And then I realized it was not that he was looking for one perfect answer, but it was more of that he was pushing me to think more and give more reasons to him. And while I was answering all the questions to this particular professor, the other professor was just reading a book and completely ignoring me as if I was not even there. So the next set of questions were like pretty general ones, like you can say more like HR questions and some things on what good do you think that you have done in life so far and so on. So the other part was good, I would say. And after the interview was over, finally the other professor looked up and he offered me some candy or cashew, whatever I wanted to take, and I was asked to leave after that. So after the interview, I went to complete the formalities. If you remember, I had to directly go to the interview and did not complete the formalities before. So, and during the formalities, they were asking for submission of all the 8 semester mark sheets of my undergraduation. And I only had the final semester copy, so I had to go to the Xerox facility of the hotel to take the copies of those 8 semester mark sheet. Certainly at that point I couldn't go out and search for a shop, so I went to the Xerox facility of the hotel. And please, आप जब भी ऐसे किसी होटल में जाओ, Xerox करके जाना, because for 8 copies they charged me around something like 230 rupees, which जितना टैक्स दिया मैंने शायद उससे कम में मैं बाहर Xerox कर लेता. But all good and fine. It doesn't matter now. When the final verdict came, I converted IIM Ahmedabad. So obviously, all the things that happened in the interview, after the interview, everything looks funny and good now. So next, I'll cover my IIM Codicode interview, and I'll keep it very short because the interview itself is just 5 minutes long. And really, I thought that interview was a disaster and was very unique because I never thought that I can convert this college after such a disastrous interview. So what had happened was when I entered the interview room, the first question that was asked was, what should we ask you? So I didn't know how to answer this. So I told, sir, you may ask whatever you wish to. And I think it kind of backfired. Maybe they thought that it was kind of an arrogant tone or something, but it backfired. And they asked me, the first question that they asked me was, okay, tell me the population of India, the exact number. And I was like, I didn't know the answer, obviously. The exact number, obviously, I didn't know. So I told them approximate, but they wanted the exact number. And I told them, sir, even if I tell you the exact number, probably it would have changed by the time I say that, because the birth rate is such in India. And they were like, no, this is not an acceptable answer. Tell me the exact number. And then they said, okay, we will ask you a second question. If you can answer this, you are in. If you cannot answer this, then you are out. And they asked me the exact number of army personnel in the Indian Army. And again, like, I didn't know how to answer this, so I started doing some guesstimate, started like dividing it across the regiments that I knew, across the different states, how many people would we need to guard the borders and everything. But after hearing for like 1 or 2 minutes only, they were like, no, we don't want this kind of a guesstimate approach or anything. We are asking you the exact number. Will you be able to reach the exact number through this? I said, obviously no. And they said that then you said we can ask you anything that you want to. And I was like, I think that was a mistake. And after that, they just asked me one more question on my project, and that the project that I'd done in my engineering days, and it was also like 30 seconds of an answer, and that was it. They said that, okay, we asked you like 2 questions and you couldn't answer them, and you were confident that probably you can, so you can leave. And that was really the end of the interview. 2-3 questions, that's it. And when I converted this college, I thought of probable reasons that I could have converted this for. One was definitely I had a very good VAT. The essay that I had written before the interview, that was really, really good. So probably there I would have scored high. And second was, even during the interview, I was smiling and humble throughout the interview. So probably they were looking for that temperament that worked in my favor. And one thing I realized from the IIM Ahmedabad professors as well, that the things that they're looking for in an interview are that the candidate should be a good fit for the institute. The candidate should be willing to learn. It does not matter at that point of time how much does he know, how many facts he remembers, and what kind of candidate he is at that point of stage. If he has a good background, yes, that's an advantage, but they want to judge in the interview if he's willing to come and learn in the institute, and that's a very, very strong indicator for them. Moreover, the professor is looking for, if you come and sit in their classroom, will they enjoy teaching you, and if you can add any value to the class discussion. And more importantly, if you represent the institute somewhere outside, will you be able to maintain the image and reputation of the institute. So temperament, willingness to learn, and ensuring that you're not someone who can tarnish the image of the institute. If you can do these things in the interview, probably you're already in. So that was from my IIM interview experience, and IIM Calcutta Extra and IIM Indore interview I'll cover in another video. So do subscribe to my channel, and if you have enjoyed watching this, do leave a like.